You ever have one of those moments in life where you feel like the rug just gets pulled right out from under you? For me, it happened on a random Tuesday evening, one of those boring, quiet nights where you think nothing important is going to happen. For context, my wife Marissa and I had been together for about 7 years, married for 4. We met in college, dated seriously after graduation, and at first, she was everything I thought I wanted. Funny, outgoing, supportive, at least in the beginning. When we got married, she insisted on taking my last name. She made a big deal about it, too. She posted on social media how proud she was to become Mrs. My Last Name. She even used to tease her friends who kept their maiden names. But over time, things started to change. She began hanging out with a new group of friends, people who were all about independence, finding yourself, and not being defined by a man. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for people being independent and true to themselves. But with her, it felt less like growth and more like rewriting history. At first it was small. She'd stop introducing herself with my last name. Then she started using her maiden name at work. I noticed, but I didn't push it. Figured maybe it was just a career move. Then came the night. I was sitting at the dinner table after a long day of work. She poured herself a glass of wine, sat down across from me, and just blurted out, "Marissa, I don't want your last name anymore." I thought I misheard. "What?" I asked. She said it again, slow and deliberate. "I don't want your last name anymore. I feel like it ties me down. I want my own identity back." Now, let me tell you, those words hit harder than any insult I'd ever heard. It wasn't about the name itself. It was about what it meant. That she no longer wanted to be tied to me. That she saw our marriage as a cage instead of a partnership. I kept my cool. I didn't yell, didn't slam the table. I just asked, "Me, why now? Why after all these years?" She shrugged like it was nothing. "Because I've changed. I'm not the same girl I was when we got married. I need to feel free again. Honestly, I feel like I'm suffocating." That word suffocating echoed in my head. Now, I'd been noticing other changes, too. More girls' nights where she wouldn't answer her phone. More secretive texts, more time out than in. Part of me already suspected she was testing the waters elsewhere, though I had no proof. But in that moment, hearing her say she didn't want my name, it all started adding up. Still, I didn't explode. I just nodded slowly and said, "Me, if you don't want my name, that's your choice. But choices come with consequences." She rolled her eyes, thinking I was just being dramatic. "It's just a name," she muttered. But no, it wasn't. What she didn't know, and what I had never needed to remind her of, was that we had signed a prenup before marriage. Not because I didn't trust her back then, but because my parents insisted. I had family business assets, property, and investments that needed to be protected. She signed it without much thought, more focused on the wedding than the paperwork. That night, after she went to bed, I pulled the prenup out of my desk drawer. It had been sitting there untouched for 4 years, gathering dust. I reread it front to back, and I realized something important. If she walked away from me, or if she broke the marriage through adultery or public dishonor, she got nothing. The house? Mine. The car? Mine. The investments? Untouchable. Everything we had built together was legally tied to my name, the same name she was suddenly so eager to throw away. The next night at dinner, I slid the folder across the table to her. "Me. You want to drop my last name? Fine. But then you need to sign here, too." She looked confused. "What is this?" "Me. The prenup, remember? This is what it looks like when you choose not to be tied to me anymore. You walk away from the name. You walk away from everything that comes with it." She opened it, started reading, and I watched the color drain from her face. "This isn't fair. You can't expect me to give up everything." "Me, I'm not expecting anything. You're the one who said my name ties you down. Well, everything tied to my name, this house, this life, this security, goes with it. You can't have both." She didn't sign that night. She couldn't. She just sat there, silent, realizing what her so-called freedom would cost. Over the next weeks, things got tense. She tried to walk back her words. Claimed she only meant she wanted to use her maiden name professionally. Said I had misunderstood. But I hadn't misunderstood. I had heard her loud and clear. And I changed too. I stopped doing all the little things I used to do. The surprise coffee runs, the weekend getaways, the small gifts. I cut off the perks of being my wife because she had made it clear she didn't see herself as one anymore. Bills? Split 50-50. Household chores? Equal share. Birthdays and holidays? Modest, like between friends. The shock on her face the first time I handed her a $25 Target gift card for her birthday instead of planning an elaborate weekend getaway. Priceless. She was realizing that being just herself, without the burden of my name, also meant losing the privileges that came with being my wife. And then came the kicker. A few weeks later, her sister Clara came over. Clara and I had always gotten along. She's blunt, sometimes too blunt, but she's honest. While helping me pack some boxes, Clara pulled me aside and said, "Clara, I think you should know something. Marissa saw the receipt for the ring upgrade you bought. She found it weeks ago, before she gave you that whole speech about wanting her name back. She panicked. She didn't want to reject another proposal, so she tried to downgrade things before you could upgrade them." That hit me harder than anything. Not only had she been cold, but she had been manipulative. Instead of being honest, she concocted this whole plan to redefine our marriage just to dodge commitment. That night, I confronted Marissa. She tried to deny it at first, but when I laid it all out, she broke down and admitted it. I just felt trapped, okay? I didn't know if I was ready for more commitment. I thought if I could just buy time, I'd figure it out. Me. So instead of talking to me, you decided to humiliate me and downgrade our marriage? Do you realize what that did? She had no answer. In the end, I followed through. I closed on a condo under my name only, packed my things, and moved out. When the lease on our shared apartment ended, she couldn't afford it alone and ended up moving back with her parents. As for me, a few months later, I met someone new, someone who actually values commitment, someone who doesn't treat love like an optional accessory you can put on and take off depending on the season. And here's the part that makes me smile now. The same name Marissa thought was holding her back is the name that now holds everything she lost. The house, the investments, the security, it's all still tied to me. Because sometimes the thing people think is just a name ends up being the very thing that defines everything. Thanks for watching.